First of all, let me say good morning to members of the media. I guess 24 hours or 48 hours has a way of saying a lot of things. I think when I had this press conference, and the BIU had a press conference on Wednesday to address some issues concerning some of the activity around, I think, the candidate for constituency number 17, Mr. Robinson. And as the media accused me of certain things, I had said to you that basically what I held up for you was documents from the newspaper. So before the BIU got ahead of the article, it was out there. But let me say it's interesting because last night the by-election was held, and not in today's RG, the definition of a schoolyard bully is one who engages in proactive aggression with the expectation of gaining a reward. Further down in the editorial says, so the schoolyard bully in this piece is none other than Chris Furbert, president of the BIU. This is very interesting. So I'm not being accused of being a schoolyard bully because I put some facts out there. Interesting because Mr. Callender, when he had his press conference on 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, the headline is, OB attack on Robinson, a cheap shot. I'm not sure whether people remember what happens from one day to the next day, from 1 year to the next year. But this is an article from the Royal Gazette in 2012. And this article concerns a by-election that was due to hell because Mr. Barrett stepped on from his seat. And Mr. Callender stepped forward, put his name forward for the UB or UBP, whichever one it was back then, to stand for the seat. The PLP put forward Mr. Mackay Dickinson. And what I find interesting is that whilst these events have happened over the past few days with Mr. Robinson, and the opposition leader has accused everyone of trying to destroy a young man and not being able to support him. I think Jason Hayward is, about me giving his age, just 37. He's a very young man. Mr. Mackay Dixon was also a young man. And the editorial, and whilst I understand that Mr. Smith was not the editor, there remains the divisive tactic. This newspaper has not taken the stance in recent years that people who have committed a crime and paid their debt to society should not be barred from running for office. That's how the article starts out. But look how it finishes, the very last sentence. He may be deserved of a second chance, but should it be in this election? This is in 2012, when he was running against Mr. Craig Callender, who is now the opposition leader. So you might want to go. It's published on the 27th of November, 2012. This is dated at 9:10 p.m. And like I said, it was last updated according to this, the 27th, 2012 at 9:06 a.m. And interesting, they actually have a picture of him, either on page 3 or page 4, whatever it is, of Mr. Dixon. So even though they put his name out there, they also put a picture of him out there in 2012. Now in 2019, because Mr. Robinson done something in 2017 by posting something on Facebook or his program that he was running, and people picked it up, and now they're calling him out on him 2 days or 3 days before a by-election. It's about, as I said to the media the other day, it's about accountability. But certainly I want to address some of the concerns that Mr. Callender addressed in his press conference the other day, because it certainly looked like he was fully armed and ready for this 4 o'clock press conference. And it's interesting because when I asked my secretary to arrange a press conference, she contacted the media, and she contacted all the media. But I was made aware that Mr. Callender knew about the BIU's press conference for 2 o'clock, and he was ready for 4 o'clock. So somebody must have told him the BIU was having a press conference and what it was all going to be about. And it's just interesting how things were here, because we now have the World Gazette calling me a bully. Because, once again, I put the facts on the table, which is what I'll do today in response to some of the comments that Mr. Callender made. And I'm not sure whether the media noticed it. I try to pay attention to detail. Mr. Callender, when he was the OBA leader, I'm trying to remember in my mind, when had I ever seen him have a press conference and him be by himself? No, I knew that when the House of Assembly, has debates, and he might speak to the media after that, in their circumstance, he might be by himself. But I ain't never seen the leader of the opposition, or back then he might have been the leader of the country as the premier, have a press conference, and he'd be standing on the land. Some of you may not pick that up. I picked it up. No, I'm not by myself. Most of the times I have a press conference, I'm by myself. Unless I'm dealing with a division that I need them here to explain certain things. So certainly that's something that should be, I guess you might want to look at that in relationship to the press conferences he's had. So it's interesting that Mr. Kellner went on to speak about certain things, like he was a bit concerned where's the BIU's press conference on these pressing issues, and he went on to speak about why are they all so silent when Bermudians are suffering today. And he was making reference to, if you go back a little further, he's actually making reference to the leader of the opposition said, what people want to know is how they're living, how one is making a living, how seniors can enjoy their retirement, and how the youth will be able to get a job. Interesting, because the ABA was in power from 2013 to 2017, July. And let's look at how our seniors and our youth and Bermudans fared under the ABA government from 2013 to 2017. And these are not my numbers. These numbers taken out of the employment brief. So people don't think that, I'm bullying the numbers, per se. So what this is, gives you the dates from 2013 right on down to 2017. And it clearly states that our young people under the age of 25, total jobs for them in 2013 was 1,626. In 2017, all under the ABA government, it's now 1,456. So the youth workers under the age of 35 lost 170 jobs under the One Bermuda Alliance government. In contrast, you can argue, our seniors who are plus 65 picked up about 187 jobs, 183 jobs. They went from 2,221 to 2,400. But here's where the rubber meets the road. Bermudans on a whole, from 2013 to 2017, lost 837 jobs under the ABA government. And that's a fact. And interesting, because other non-Bermudans actually picked up 331 jobs over this same period of time. But what you might want to also look at is this document is dated 2019. And this is a document that's dated, that's 2018 Employment Survey Tabulations Set. And if you go to page number 9, at the bottom of the page, page number 9, what you'll see in here is those who were under the age of 20 to 24, and you'll also see our seniors. And this is make a comparison to 2017 numbers to 2018 numbers. Now remember the PLP became the government in 2017. So in 2017, there was a total of, let me get the number right so I make sure I give you the correct number. In 2017, there's total number of workers. It was a total of, and let's deal with the seniors first. There was a total of 2,400. Under the PLP, it's now 2,470. So 70 more seniors have got employment under a PLP government. And for the youth, the similar thing happened. In respect that we had 1,455 youth between the ages of under the age of 25, and in 2018, it's 1,532. An additional 77 jobs our youth got than on the age of 25. So it's kind of interesting, Mr. Kellner is speaking about the PLP or the BIU and what we're not doing. So he goes on to talk about the lack of our press conferences. Interesting, because I think what the premier should be aware of, what the opposition leader should be aware of, is that the PLP, when they became the government in 2017, decided to have quarterly meetings with the Bermuda Trade Union Congress. So we meet every quarter. And we also put items on the agenda. And the premier from time to time, who is the head in that particular meeting, also may bring from time to time two or three ministers with him, as well as some senior civil servants will be in those discussions. In addition to that, we also continue to work with the LAC, the Labor Advisory Council, which is chaired by the minister, the Honorable Levita Furbert, her permanent secretary, the Department of Workforce Development, employers, unions. And we are also supposed to have quarterly meetings with them. Sometimes it don't always happen, but we're also scheduled to have quarterly meetings. We are currently working on labor law reform, and the recommendations are now currently with the minister. So interesting, Mr. Cameron is saying the BIU needs to be having a press conference on these pressing issues. And it's not that, I wouldn't say that things are perfect. We have some of our areas, DPT, of recent, maybe the last couple of months, about a month or so ago, had a work to rule in place. We got, right now, just concluded, Telco had a situation where they had a work to rule at a time for 2 weeks. So the areas where the BIU needs to be addressing issues on behalf of our members is being done. Just because we're not in front of the media talking about these issues, don't mean we're not sorting out issues in the workplace. But when there's a real issue for us to be speaking to the media about, we certainly will be doing that. But certainly I want to address this whole issue about the BIU and its lack of press conference and the government and the way how they are behaving. Certainly I think the PRP government is committed to taking on the status quo. They're looking at lower interest rates. They're looking at bringing down the cost of health care. They are certainly also looking at making sure that, particularly the cost of health care can be affordable. But there's a couple of other things I want to close with today, and that's in relationship to the Furbert government ceased becoming the government in 2017. The PLP was elected. But interesting, the Furbert government has managed somehow to increase our national debt, and they're not even the government. So you know what I'm going on. The PLP government now has to bail out Morgan's Point because the Furbert lack of government to put the necessary protections in place. So that $170 million now, it's got to be added to our debt. So whether that increase the debt by 5% or 7%, the Furbert should be held responsible for increasing that debt. That was not caused by the PLP. But Mr. Canada don't want you to hear those kind of things. He don't want to have the conversation about those sort of things. In addition to that, of course, we know, and everybody's going to jump for joy next year when the airport project comes, or the airport opens up. People are going to say, well, hooray, here we go. Well, can't forget what happened on December 2nd, 2016. Can't forget what happened, even though I'm talking about the pepper spray, but I'm also talking about how they ran, this is the Furbert government, ran into the House of Assembly like these in the night to pass this bill. Why? Because the MPs and the general public were asking for some more details about the agreement that they had signed with ACORN and CCC. And the Minister of Finance says, well, you can't get them documents, they're not, you can't because it's going to interfere with the agreement. But remember now, we're now stuck with this deal now for the next 30 years, and that's a fact. And just one brief other thing for Morgan's Point. The former Minister of Finance, the Honorable Bob Richards, says, if I had to do it all over again, I'll do the exact same thing. Now, for well, the country has no protection on this $170 million or $165 million that they signed the country up for. He'll do it all over again. That means we'll have the same problem. That is scary. But yet, we'd have Mr. Dexter Smith as the editor want to accuse me of being some kind of bully, a number of other things, because I speak from a factual point of view about what's happening in our country, and as a result of that, if something's wrong, it is wrong. So what I will say to you in closing is that there's still room for improvement, even though we see the seniors and certainly our seniors and youth doing a lot better. But you also got to look at what the PRP government has done in relationship to the retirement age. They're moving it from 65 to 68. Now, you don't have to stay to 68. You could still leave at 65. But look at the advantage if you decide to stay to your 68. And based on I would say the minimum wage or minimum income for seniors, I want to say right now that figure's $50,000. So if I'm able to continue working for 3 more years, that's another $150,000 of revenue in my pocket. You can't turn a blind eye to that, but the opposition leader will help you be the PLP ain't doing anything. That's a big issue. So if I want to go at 65, I can't. If I want to stay around for 3 more years and earn another $150,000 in salary, I can't. And that's a huge something for our seniors. And for the OBA government to think, or the OBA party to think as the opposition, that the current government is not doing what they need to do, certainly I would say that it's still room for improvement. The numbers are going in the right direction. But contrary to what the opposition would have you believe, the PLP government does care about our seniors, it does care about our youth, and it does care about Bermudians. Any questions? Sure.
Good morning. You covered a lot there, so I'm just going to try and pick out some things I hope
Sure.
you're okay. Maybe to start, you mentioned the PLP government there caring about seniors and youngsters. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why is that something for you to speak to rather than the government? Are you talking about that insofar as the people you represent as union members?
Just so I don't get this wrong, this is Mr. Callaghan's statement that you guys printed in your paper. You printed it.
Printed a story based on.
Well, you printed a story based on what Mr. Callaghan said. These are his words, not mine.
Yeah.
They're his words. So basically, when Mr. Callaghan says in his press conference, where's the BIU press conference on these pressing issues? And he talks about, that's not the correct one. Oh, this one here. What people want to know is how they will make a living, how seniors can enjoy their retirement, how the youth will get a job. Then he goes on to say, says, where's the BIU on these pressing issues? He's including that as one of the pressing issues. And he's saying, where's the BIU on these issues? Where are we? I think the government has made an approach to talk about bringing on the cost of health care that affects our seniors. The government is trying to look at people who are getting age 65, who really can afford to retire, but some employers say, well, sorry, but you got to go home anyway. The government is looking to increase that and allow people to stay on the job for a few more years. That affects us because we have people that work for the Bermuda government who don't want to go home at 65. They want to continue to work. And unless you can make a good case as to why you should stay prior to them moving the age from 65 to 68, you have to leave at 65. So that affects our members.
Okay. Can you talk about, you mentioned in your comments as well, the press conference that you gave on Wednesday prior to the by-election.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about the timing behind the press conference and why you decided to speak to, I guess, primarily to the video and candidate, Mr. Robinson's comments from a few years ago? Can you talk about the timing of that press conference on Wednesday?
Well, when you say the timing, what about everybody else's timing? Why is it just the BIU question about that timing? Because remember now, what I held up here on Wednesday was comments that was...
I can't ask anybody else. We're at a press conference right now at the BIU at which you brought up the matter of the press conference from Wednesday.
Mhm.
So I think I'm right to be able to ask you about something you brought up today at the press conference you called.
Right.
Would
Right.
you agree?
Well, certainly, yeah, I would agree. And I think what I said to the media on Wednesday was that, if there is an issue that the BIU wants to, I guess, bring it to the public's attention, and rather that's an issue of a by-election, rather that's an issue of Morgan's Point, rather that's an issue of something else that's happening in the country, I think we are very concerned about. I think it's not a. I would say if you look at the comments that the union has made since Brother Oliver Simmons was president, we understand that whilst our members have a choice to vote who they want, we've never ever told our members you have to vote for the PLP. We've never ever told our members you have to vote for the ABA. We understand that whether it's 10% or 15 or 20% of our members, I don't think it's much higher, it could be maybe as high as 20, might vote for the ABA or the UBP or back then. I'm not blindsided to that. But as an organization per se, which means that, headquarters, as ABA has put out their support for the Progressive Labour Party. Why? The PLP came out of the BIU, came out of the labor movement. Came.
My question was the timing of the press conference on Wednesday.
The by-election was the 21st. Somebody put a post out on on Facebook, whether that was Tuesday or Monday. We was responding to the post that was put out because it looked like somebody was trying to be mischievous about what was taking place.
Okay, so
You're not going to get another answer, so don't look for another one.
I don't.
Don't look for another one.
At the press conference on Wednesday,
Mhm.
I believe you said that that the BIU was behind candidate Jason Hayward, 150%. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did members of the BIU know that you were going to be supporting candidate Jason Hayward before that press conference?
Does the members know that, how come you haven't asked that question, or the media hasn't asked that question? In all the years, the BIU has come out to support the PLP government. Because that's what we've been doing for years.
Are you asking me why you haven't been
Yeah, so how come me questioning that now? So custom and practice, everybody's had it since the PLP was born out of the labor movement, which was born out of the BIU. The BIU has always supported the party. Always. Always. Always.
Okay, so members back then.
The members that want to go out to support Mr. Hayward can go and support Mr. Hayward. The members that want to go out to support Mr. Robinson can go and support Mr. Robinson. We never told them that to work for Mr. Hayward, you know. We never said that. We've never ever said that. Ever. But you're implying that.
I didn't say
You're implying that.
I asked if
Anyway.
the membership knew that you were going to be backing Mr. Hayward and if they agreed with that. That's what I asked.
The spokesperson for the BIU is the president of the BIU. Back then, it was Brother Otto Simmons. Way back farther than that was Dr. Gordon. My predecessor was Derek Burgess. So certainly, you know, whilst you have an issue with whether the membership supports that, I've already just said it to you. I can't say it to you no clearer. I understand that not all our members are going to support the decision that we're making about supporting the PLP. I got that. If you were coming out saying you have to support the PLP, and if you don't support the PLP, you're not a BIU member anymore, then maybe we can have a different kind of conversation. But we're not saying that. We are not saying that. Any further questions? Thank you.